The next panel is going to be moderated by Ahmed Yassin, the co-founder and marketing strategist of Berytech Egypt. When we talk about scaling up and when we talk about Scaling Up Innovation Day and we talk about startups, we have to consider future trends. I think COVID-19, as we've seen all our speakers mention today, has really accelerated a lot of things into that domain and has also shifted business models. So Ahmed, I'm going to leave the floor to you because you're going to be talking about the quick shifting industries and future trends. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you, Yomna. I'm really happy and proud to be part of this brilliant event, given the unprecedented times, what's happening in the world, given the COVID-19 pandemic. So again, I'm Ahmed Yassin, the co-founder and the marketing strategist of Berytech, and I will be moderating the panel titled Quick Shifting Industries and Future Trends. And with the brilliant four speakers, I will be discussing in the panel what will be the plan post-COVID-19, what are the trends that can be followed, and what happened regarding the significant changes or challenges that have been there because of such pandemic. So I'm really thankful for the brilliant four speakers. And we'll be starting with questions regarding what are the things that must be done with, or what is the most important thing that can be done for startups regarding the new trends. So I will be starting with a brilliant speaker number one, Audrey Nakad, and she's the co-founder and the CEO of The Sinkers, a mobile education platform that connects learners to highly qualified private tutors and mentors. Also, she's been listed in the Forbes 30 under 30, and that's really a pride to see such brilliant things. So hello, Audrey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really happy to have you on the panel, and we've been discussing lots of things, but the most important question, because I think it's really relevant to the brilliant startup of yours, Sinkers. So in terms of COVID-19, do you consider the pandemic a challenge or a motivation to your startup, given you are a digital platform, and also given that several education institutions around the world have either stopped operating or had shut down completely? So what's happening with the startup? Off you go.
So as you've mentioned, to be quite honest, COVID-19 was both a challenge and a motivation to our startup, but definitely it was more of a motivation, definitely. It was challenging. Why? Because as you've noticed, most organizations were not the only one. It was we had to accommodate to the sudden change, the work from home environment all of a sudden. And the first 2 months when COVID hit, as you know, everyone was kind of in a pause. Even the schools did not know how to adapt very quickly. It took some time for all of us to shift, and more specifically for schools to shift from offline completely to online. And they were completely reluctant to this shift. Why I'm telling you this? Because Sinkers, when we started Sinkers, almost 5 years ago, I went to schools personally to offer the online learning platform, and it was definitely a big no. So they were against this shift, and COVID-19 kind of forced it. Hence, we saw personally a drop in the demand for academic courses. But on the other hand, what was very interesting, we saw a rise in languages and soft skills. We had a big advantage over all of our tutoring platforms, and lots of competitors had to shut down because us, since day one, as I've mentioned again, 5 years ago, we had our own online learning platform that finally we actually put in use when COVID hit. All of a sudden, we saw a big shift from offline sessions. We had approximately 95% of offline sessions, and all of a sudden we had 100% of sessions happening online. Finally, we put our product into use, and everyone was using our platform for their online sessions and paying seamlessly through our platform. In addition, our startup, I would say I'm happy with what happened in a way, because our startup became even more scalable. Not only we're doing online learning session all over the world, but also we're leveraging our supply of teachers that we currently have, whether it's in Lebanon, in the UAE, or in the GCC, to cater for the world. So, and recently, thanks to the pandemic, we grew approximately 300% compared to last year.
So we can see that was a brilliant catalyst to the startup, and maybe I think that will be the future, because the demand now is increasing on such virtual platforms, and given the climate crisis and other sort of things that we will be needing the virtual platforms the upcoming years. Thank you. I will get back to you again with the second question. Now introducing the second speaker, Christine Harb. She serves as the Vice President of the Marketing at Visa Corporate, and is responsible for building Visa's brand strategy. And I think that's really important to see the fintech or the financial technology as a brilliant part of the industry and the investments, which is upcoming, of course. So want to ask you, Christine, hello, first of all. And I would love to ask you a very important question. So Visa is one of the leading corporates in the digital finance sector. And in your opinion, how Visa Corporate faced the challenges or implications of the COVID-19 and pandemic, and shockingly economic recession, which happened as a consequence afterwards, given that the Visa was really growing high in the fintech industry and introduced this sort of technology to the market. Off you go, Christine.
So hi, everyone, and thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure being part of this panel. So I'm going to start by talking about Visa's mission. Visa is a global payments technology company working to enable individuals, businesses, and economies to thrive by connecting the most innovative, reliable, and secure payments. And this mission became even more valid during the pandemic, considering that all companies, irrespective of the size of the business, the geography, or even the industry, have been impacted by the pandemic. COVID has completely disrupted the global economy and affected communities in every corner of the world. It has changed the way we interact, the way we work, the way we live, but most importantly, the way we shop, what we buy, and how we buy. That's on the consumer side. On the merchant side, it has put a strain on millions of small and medium businesses and has forced them to find new ways and to adapt their ways of working in order to survive. So in light of the above, we have decided to shift slightly our strategy and launch the Where You Shop Matters campaign to, on one hand, reinforce the importance of shopping local, while on the other hand, supporting small and medium businesses ramp up and develop the right capabilities and skills that are needed for them to succeed. And I will quickly mention that as part of our global commitment, we're looking to support 50 million businesses, small and medium businesses across the world that have been negatively impacted by COVID. And this by launching a series of different programs for them to accept digital payments, enable websites for e-commerce, digitally transform their back office operation, and finally, meet increased demand for coming from consumers for cashless payments.
That's really perfect, because also I've been seeing the online platforms are really flourishing, and I think Visa is the one to support such things. So going to the second question, on the second round, I will ask you more about the plans, because I'm really proud that we can see such thing in the MENA region, and I think we need this in the Middle East or the MENA region. So to one of the most important things and critical things, which is the food and the agriculture around the world, I would like to introduce the third speaker, Mr. Rob Trice, all along from the United States. And thank you for getting up early for the session. So thank you very much. And so I would love to say that we have Mr. Rob from as a founder of the Better Food Ventures and the Mixing Bowl. He's has a significant experience in mobile internet telecom venture capital to pursue the application of information technology to food and agriculture challenges. So getting technology to do the most important thing and to protect the most important thing, which is food security. So would love to ask you, Rob, about a very important question. Do you see that, or do you consider that COVID-19 is a direct threat to the food security around the world? Also, what is the effect of technology to any potential threat to food security? Off you go, Mr. Rob.
Thank you, Ahmed, and thank you for having me. Definitely. I mean, if there's one thing that I think people realize is that food matters. And COVID has really brought that to bear all along the value chain. So think about the very fact that it is believed that COVID came from a Chinese wet market where it jumped from an animal to a human. All the way from there to people working in the fields, harvesting our food, transporting our food, the supply chain, both domestically and internationally, that's been pinched. The processing of the food, the workers that are, putting that into the packages, all the way out to exactly what Christine was talking about. The retail experience is changing, the dining experience is changing, and let's also not forget, we're also seeing a correlation between the nutritional health of people and their ability to ward off or to be minimally impacted by COVID. So all along that food value chain, from the field to the fork, we're seeing COVID really take a hit. And then to your second question about what can technology do about this? I think that probably the fundamental lesson learned is that we as a society have been mostly focused on maximizing production of food. How can we just create more? And we've had a steady growth in that food. And I think now there's a recognition that not only do we have to look at producing enough food to feed 9 billion people by 2050 sustainably and economically, but also we need to build in agility. And this has been our theme, which is so for instance, I'll give you one example. We have a dairy farmer here in California who produced large blocks of cheese for pizza restaurants. COVID hits, the pizza restaurants shut down. They had no ability to chop up those blocks of cheese to get it to people that were looking for food, no direct-to-consumer play. How can you now look at having a more agile solution in the market? And a lot of this is because we don't fundamentally have the data in our food supply chain. And we need that data so that we get that rapid ability to be dynamic and agile and respond to shifts, whether that's climate, whether that is COVID, what have you.
So thank you, Rob. It's really important thing that you are mentioning regarding the agility, and also what are the implications are happening, because we're not prepared. Would love to ease the terms that we're not prepared for such pandemic. This is why we did really have this shock in a way or another. So going to the fourth speaker, the Honorable Mr. Laurent Pepin. So I would like to introduce him first, that he has a PhD in the genetics from University Orsay, Paris-Saclay, and he was a researcher for 3 years at the laboratory of ENRA. And also he's now working in the Genopol company, and I think he's now trying to work on a vaccine and developing a new strategy about a fast detection to their pandemics. And that's really important keyword, and it's important for the humanity now, because this is our question. And we will discuss what's happening in this company, if you would like to introduce. But I would love to say the question first, so that the world is now facing a health crisis. So what do you think, as we do have to say that many health systems have failed to withstand the pressure, because especially in countries like the populous countries like mine, in Egypt, we have a massive population, so our health system didn't withstand if we crossed a certain number. Also, the accelerating numbers of COVID-19 cases. So do you think that the current health systems can be resilient enough to withstand other potential pandemics post-COVID-19?
Yeah, thank you, Ahmed, and thank you for inviting me. Yeah, it's of course a difficult question, and this answer can be answered according to the country and about to different health systems that we have on the world. What I can say that the system can be resilient if the population are following the rules, means not too many contact between each other, which is, I know, is difficult. And if we can develop a lot of systems to detect the presence or the absence of the virus. I will come back afterward about the development of new technology for that. But first of all, yes, it can be possible. Of course, we need to be careful, but we all know that. And so that's a very big question for the new normal world, which will happen after this pandemic. For example, at Genopol, what we have done, Genopol, it's a biocluster. We have 83 companies. We have a lot of academic labs, so it's a biocluster and a biopark in the same times. And so we have a lot of startups company working only on biotech. And we have done this kind of help between companies and labs, academic labs, and our hospital. We have one hospital on the campus, and when the outbreak arrived, we decided to work together to do I would say a workflow chain for labs that can do the PCR. You remember the PCR, the test PCR, which is a way to detect the vaccine to help the hospital. And also we have shared between labs, biotech labs and the hospital, because it was at this time a little bit crazy for that to check everybody. We share gloves, we share protection, we share everything. So it was a good moment of solidarity in the biocluster, and I think it's a way for us when this outbreak will finish, because I'm sure it will finish. We can come back this after with my second question, but you have everybody heard about Pfizer, about Moderna. All this new vaccine will arrive, I'm sure, and I will talk about that later. But it's interesting, so I'm sure it will be okay. So means the health system will be resilient because we have been able to. We will be able to have a vaccine very, very quickly. Much quicker than before, but I will come back to that after for the second question. Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you, Mr. Laurent. Yes, hopefully that's a very important news, and just need to show to the world that it's not just Pfizer or BioNTech or Moderna companies. I think lots of countries are working on the vaccine, yes. But it's simply it's not a competition. It must be a one world problem. It's not competitive. So that's what I can collect. And the whereabouts of your words, really important that we need to work collectively on such thing, and also it can be transformed a better businesses and startups. So going back to Audrey, so for the second question, I think Audrey, I'm really proud to see such startup and the expansions and the growth, but we need to know more about because the demand is increasing, and maybe you can see massive countries in the Euromed region. I can say that they need to use the digital platforms, but at the same time, as Mr. Laurent said, that we transformed shockingly from a normal life to a post-pandemic life. So we don't have enough infrastructure. So the demand on the virtual learning is massively increasing with a high pace. So how will Synca's platform cope with such demand, which is almost tripled in 2020 than the past year? Speak in terms of qualitative and quantitative aspects. So off you go, Audrey.
Ahmed, this is a brilliant question, and a lot of people would think, the challenge here is technology. You'll be surprised. In our case, it wasn't technology, it's being able to hire the right supply of teacher. Just to put you sort of into the context here, as I mentioned previously, 5 years ago, even before COVID hit, we built our scalable online learning platform because we believed from the beginning that our vision is to create the largest platform of knowledge exchange. And for that, we need the education to be accessible to all. And we want to give our students the option to find the most suitable private teachers for them, irrespective of their location. So we always want our learners to have access to the best in-class teachers. For instance, if you want to learn a language like, for instance, French, you'd rather learn French from someone in France, and you don't want to be limited to your pool, to the supply of teachers in your home country. So this is why back then we came up, or we built the platform. And our platform, definitely, thanks to COVID, we accelerated it. But currently, our platform can accommodate 100,000 sessions online that are happening at the same time with students and teachers around the world. Recently, we had to add new features because one of the challenges, again, is how we can make it more interactive. So we had to very quickly build lots of features to make it interactive, like pop quizzes, adding characters, allowing the teachers to, for example, give badges to their top students to keep them engaged. And a few months ago, we have added one of our main features, the possibility for one teacher to be able to teach multiple students at the same time. Because as you mentioned in your question, the demand has tripled all of a sudden. The biggest challenge was not technology, it was more that we have to onboard hundreds of teachers per week. And the tough part is we had to train them as well to teach online, because as you know, teaching online is not like offline. So we had to onboard a company to teach them on the right methodologies to be able to give interactive online sessions. But we're ready for the challenge, I can assure you.
Perfect. Of course, I'm really happy that you are ready. And I think that's really important thing that can give a hope for lots of places that are depending on virtual platforms, also post-COVID-19, just to increase the quality of education to be accessible for everyone. So, Christine, I would love to say that when I've announced the panel on several social media platforms, and the name and the bio, they've been really interested. How can Visa help us? As lots of startups have been contacting me in Egypt and asking a very important question. So all eyes on Visa now. So, so I would like to say a very important question in this matter, that what is the plan, or what are the methodologies of Visa that will be taken into consideration to support SMEs to reform their fiscal status? Because lots of people, they've been having a very, very hard time struggling to keep their startups growing or expanding, because 2019 was a marvelous year. And I can speak about my country in Egypt. It's been great and on economical wise, but all of a sudden, it's declined and deceased. And that's what I have to say. So off you go.
So we have been listening to SMEs throughout the crisis to understand how their outlook is changing and what they're going through. And one of the things that we've realized is their main anxiety was around cash management, was about keeping their business on track, but also finding new ways to stay connected with the consumer. And if we look at SMEs, and given the recent times we're living in, there's a need for small and medium businesses to pivot to a digital first mindset. And what I mean by that is it is crucial for small and medium businesses to adapt and adopt new ways of working, to integrate digital solutions, to spruce up their offerings online, and doing this by making sure that they have the foundation for great security that will enable, or that will allow them to give consumers a smooth, secure, and frictionless experience. And this is what we have been focused on as an organization. And this is one of the top priorities that we have internally. First, I've announced earlier that globally we have committed to supporting 50 million small and medium businesses. And there are a series of different programs that are available. One of them is called Back to Business, that we have launched in Africa, that we're planning to roll out in other parts of the world. Then we have launched online business hubs that have information that are key. information or how-to guides that cover the basics of e-commerce, digital marketing, or any other issues that are out there. People can search for where you shop matters, and there are different solutions that are available depending on where they're located globally. And finally, the main focus for us was to ensure safer and smoother commerce while offering a range of different digital solutions that allow, depending as well on the maturity of these startups and small and medium businesses, to adjust their ways of working and to enable them, to keep their business on track. So this is in a nutshell. Obviously, one of the things that I would like to highlight is we've done a recent study to track the shift or the dramatic shift to digital commerce in response to the pandemic. And despite the time we're living in, we have realized that around 75% of small and medium businesses are still optimistic about the future. And that 71 of them claim that they've received support from either local NGOs or any type of support in communities, which is a great news. Obviously, there's still a lot to be done, and we're available and we're connecting with our partners throughout our network to enable and provide the right solutions to small and medium businesses.
So thank you, Christine. I think you've been really giving us the prospects of because I'm a co-founder of a startup too, so that gives me gave me some hope to be starting fresh in 2021 and to seek the solutions that are really important for my startup and other startups. And thank you very much for this brilliant answer. So. I would like to go to Mr. Rob. So as a resident of a Silicon Valley, I have to say, you've mentioned that in our meeting before, you've have a brilliant experience in the ventures investments to numerous startups, especially the agri-tech. So in your opinion, how do you see the food and agriculture startups future post COVID-19? And if you do have a solutions for those who are struggling?
Well, I think, it's a weird time in Silicon Valley right now. Almost like it's the best of times and the worst of times. There are companies like Audrey's in the agri-food tech space that were well positioned for a rapid acceleration to a digital future. There are other companies that may have been, for instance, selling into the restaurant space, and now restaurants are closing down. We have companies going public. We have a lot of money sloshing around. Yet we have a lot of companies that are going out of business. We're expecting some sort of economic reset. And it's a very murky time right now. And clearly we've got the COVID cloud hanging over everything that's happening. So for those companies that are well positioned, like Audrey's, in the food space for that digital world, you're seeing them accelerate. For others, they may be struggling or maybe not. And we haven't seen the worst yet, is my biggest concern. I will say that generally in the agri-food tech space, what we have seen is surprisingly too many startups, a lot of redundancy, 80 companies doing drones for agriculture, 24 soil moisture sensors. We need some rationalization of some of these spaces. And I think the other thing that's hanging out there, particularly in agri-food, is we need to go address the sustainability element, farming in particular, and actually plastics, food waste. These are big challenges that are needed so that for a better society. That is underfunded currently, and we need to get through COVID so we can really focus on what really matters.
So thank you, Rob, and it's really important to see the what we call the primitives, the fundamental solutions first, and then go to deeper and dig deeper on how to improve the startups, especially the food waste problem that you've been mentioning. It's really important thing, and we have to highlight it and underline such important thing. So finally, with Mr. Laurent, I would like to ask a very brief question about you've said the fast detection systems for the pandemics. Is it possible to have one for potential ones that are upcoming years? Because of course, COVID-19 will not be the last.
Yes, indeed. It's Unfortunately, it will not be the last for sure. Remember, we were waiting for the bird influenza flu. You remember the bird flu that should arrive, but it did not arrive. But it will arrive maybe in 1 year or 2 years. We don't know yet. So anyway, yeah. So currently at Unopol, we have companies that are working in diagnostic for COVID or for other viruses. And one of them, in Alice, it's the name of this company, create a PCR, again, a PCR test. You know, PCR is a way to check if you got some RNA, because COVID is RNA or DNA. If you have RNA of the virus in your body. And so they have created a test that you can be sure of at 100% that you get this virus in 15 minutes. So that's very quick, in fact, very fast. It's perfect now. So with this kind of technology, we can avoid that we will check everybody. I hope so, and then we can detect if we got this disease for the upcoming. And as you can see, the big pharma like Pfizer are working with small biotechs, which means big pharma need biotech because they are agile. They can check. They can go very fast, and so it's very interesting for, of course, my area, which is biotech. So big pharma need help of the biotech to develop new vaccine, and we have seen that to develop a vaccine on this COVID, and I hope it will be okay. It will have take let's say 2 years, and usually to have a vaccine before it took us like 20-30 years, in fact. The last one, the fastest one, was the Ebola vaccine. You know, Ebola, it's a very bad disease in Africa, very bad, and it took 5 years to develop a vaccine. Now we are able to do a vaccine in 2 years. Means because of all the new technology, because we are able to sequence very quickly and to detect very quickly a virus, we are able to develop a vaccine in 2 years, which is incredible. It's very fast, in fact. So that gives us some hope for the next outbreak. I hope it will not happen, but I'm sure because of our way of development, we'll find new virus. I'm sorry, and you were right. It's a virus are coming from animals to humans because we go everywhere. You know, to get this coronavirus is because we went to eat some poor I don't know pangolin, or I don't know, which is, I think, okay. According to me, it's a little bit strange, but anyway. I cannot say more than that.
Okay. Yes, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rob, and sorry, Laurent. It's really nice to have 3 keywords that SMEs are the future, and also decreasing the time of finding vaccines. I would like to thank the honorable and the brilliant speakers. First of all, Audrey, Christine, Rob, Laurent, thank you very much for the brilliant responses. I've been receiving some messages on the WhatsApp that they've been really happy about such. Then thank you very much. Off to you, Yumna. Thank you.